My first guest wears many hats. He has been a businessman, an Air Force officer, world marathoner, and Notre Dame football player. But today he serves Texas' 4th Congressional District as a Republican. I want you to welcome back to the show, Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, it's great having you back. And what a week you've had in Congress, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes the stuff that you guys are dealing with, and one of the things has been this explosive hearing with Tony Bobolinsky and other people who are talking about the mountain of evidence with Joe Biden and his family. Was there something in particular this week that you thought was a startling revelation?
Well, you know, Governor, the folks that Hunter Biden worked with are all coming out. It's as you said, mounting evidence. It's not only that, it's the whistleblowers, it's his former friends, his former business partners, the bank records themselves. They can't account for how they got $24 million of illicit foreign cash, and what did the Bidens do? What service did they provide?
Yeah.
And I sat in on the 7.5 hours of the Hunter Biden deposition. I didn't miss a peep of it. And as it began, Eric Swalwell, you know, I get nauseous just saying that name. He stood up and he demanded that we release the transcripts within 24 hours. We're going to do that anyway, by the way. And so we finally sat down and we assured him that was already juiced into the agreement we had. And then he snarkily said, well, the transcripts, are they going to be in Russian or English? And so I stood up and I looked at him. I said, for you, Chinese.
Oh. Because he had the relationship with a Chinese spy, for heaven's sake.
A Chinese spy that suddenly magically left the country just in time not to get nabbed by the FBI. So,
you know, it was fascinating, though. The Democrats would hear the testimony, and then they would immediately turn and pretend that what they heard they didn't hear and they heard something else. And it was just shocking. When Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC...
Do you feel nauseous now, too, by the way?
I do. I'm going to have to take some medication tonight, I'm pretty sure. But when she was sitting there and she asked Bobolinsky, well, what crimes did Joe Biden commit? And he started listing off.
He listed.
And then she turned around and said, okay, so there were no crimes. I was like, what did he just say?
You know, there's a pattern here. And a lot of folks, we've been investigating this for, a year and a half now almost. Here's a pattern. Yelena Baturina, Russian oligarch, gives Hunter Biden and his associates $3.5 million. She then magically has dinner with Joe Biden, the sitting vice president. And then when he becomes president and sanctions Russian oligarchs, she doesn't get sanctioned. Things that make you go, Kenez Razhikev, a fellow from, I believe it's Kazakhstan, wired $142,300 to Hunter Biden's business associate, who then bought Hunter Biden a Porsche that cost $142,300.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, and Devin Archer, his business associate, we asked him, what was that money for?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've never got $142,300. I didn't know why I got it. Is there cushions in the couch? I mean, and then there was Vadam Pozharsky, the fellow one of the executives in Burisma. They started to pay Hunter Biden $1 million a year, a Ukrainian energy company, because his father, as vice president, under his portfolio responsibility, had Ukraine. And then his dad got Victor Shokin, who was the prosecutor general, fired, who was investigating Hunter Biden's boss. And he bragged about it. Yeah, it's a pattern. Oh, and Vadam Pozharsky also had dinner with Joe Biden when he was sitting vice president. See the pattern? Give Hunter money, get access to the president, get what you want.
You know, even prominent Democrats, but fair people, people like Jonathan Turley, law professor at George Washington University, he's been appalled by what he's seen. But I'm shocked that there are not more people who just objectively look at some of these records, some of these testimonies, and still end up with a conclusion, I see nothing here. Everything looks good to me.
Yeah, there's no smoke. There's a lot of smoke. There's so much smoke that, you wouldn't be able to see through it. Most people in their entire lives will not have a suspicious activity report filed by financial institutions on them. The Biden family has had 170 of them. Think about that.
Yeah.
Now, why? And then they at first he started to claim, I've never talked to any of my son's business associates. And then we find out that actually you've You've gone golfing with them. You've given them tours of the White House. You've had dinner with them. You've hosted parties that they've attended. And you even gave Jonathan Lee's son, or a child, a college recommendation. Then he says, well, I never benefited from it. I didn't really know what was going on. Well, no, Hunter now admitted that he has put you on dozens of speakerphone calls with his business associates. And he said, well, I didn't get any money from it. Then we found $200,000 that Jim Biden, his brother, gave to him. He said it was for a loan repayment, but he can't produce the documents of the original loan.
Are no taxes paid for the income received. It seems like that some of your Republican colleagues are trying to get rid of Speaker Mike Johnson. He's barely been there a few weeks. I don't get this. What's up with that?
Okay, he's an incredible member of Congress. He's a great man. He's got the care. I told him, you have the character and greatness of Ronald Reagan. You're just shorter.
I'm sure you love that, of course, yeah.
He really is. And I helped get him elected Speaker because I knew he was the one person that could take us out of the mire.
Yeah.
And he eventually got. Every single Republican voted for him, by the way.
Yeah.
And so he's navigating through a very difficult time because the Democrats know that if we shut down the federal government, which most conservatives say, fine, leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know, and it's better than we're not there. We're not creating the mischief. But if we do that, then Joe Biden's sinking poll numbers is going to change and flip the narrative with the help of the legacy mainstream media to say, look at these obstructionist Republicans, and they're hoping that they'll put some wind in his sails for the November election. And, you know, the prior speaker made some agreements that Mike wasn't privy to, and he's just trying to get us through the muck. So sometimes I don't vote with Mike, but I support Mike because I know once we give him that full breadth and that full term, he's going to do a fantastic job. He's the most conservative speaker we've ever had in our history.
Well, and I think some people don't understand when you have a margin that is razor thin, it already was. Then George Santos gets tossed. Now Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin has decided
today,
he's going to leave in April, which not only will leave the House even shorter, Ken Buck is leaving from Colorado, but they're leaving and there's not going to be time to fill those seats. So, I mean, anybody that defects and you've basically turned the entire House over to the Democrats, that's not a good fit. I don't get that.
I think we have a moral responsibility to finish our terms, particularly when you have this kind of a razor-thin majority.
Yeah.
I thought we put country first.
Yeah.
Is what.
Agree with you. An audience does as well. But it does create a problem when, you know, I always said that the Rolling Stones were really great political scientists because they wrote that incredibly insightful political song, You Can't Always Get What You Want. And, you know, people forget that if you don't own the whole ball of wax, if you don't have the White House, the Senate, and a good majority in the House, you're not going to pass something. At best, you can be a backstop and keep something bad from happening. So I don't know what the expectations are that some people have that the Republicans are going to change Washington because it'll never go through the Senate. Joe Biden will never sign it. So you're going to have to play defense until we can send in some better folks over in the Senate, get rid of Chuck Schumer, send him to the back row, and send Joe Biden back to Delaware. It'll never happen.
No, you're absolutely right in so much as we have this razor-thin majority in the House, and there's something called compromise. Yeah. Yes, I would like to get more wins, but we can't with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer in the Senate is the obstructor of freedom and liberty, and Joe Biden in the White House. So what we need to do is unify as conservatives, right of center folks that believe that this country, on balance, is a plus and a positive for humanity, and win the White House back. I mean, when I go knocking doors now, Governor, of course, I got a list of the people that typically vote. You've done it before. And best governor, by the way, ever.
Except the current one.
Yeah.
The current one is probably better.
I have to do this because I do it now. The current governor of Arkansas is the best I've ever used to work with her, you know. Incidentally, I can also do a Joe Biden impression. I've been working on it for you.
Okay, let's see this. Well, don't worry. We will send someone to help you find your way off the stage. I know you want to keep up with Congressman Pat Fallon and his battle for border security and his ongoing work on the Oversight and Accountability Committee. You can do that. Go to Huckabee.tv. We have links directly for you to get to Congressman Fallon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I hope you will now. The button is just below this video, and there's a little bell next to it. If you click on those, YouTube will reluctantly start letting you know
when we've got a new video uploaded.